So the topic for this webinar is mental health in a pandemic, tools to manage stress in a constant state of change. My name is Casabe. I am a licensed clinical social worker. And in March of 2020, after working for some time in community mental health and in a hospital system, I started my private practice called Buena Vida Wellness. So thank you all for taking time out of your Saturday to be here with me and to hear what I have to say. Okay, the objectives that we're going to cover in this presentation are being able to identify and understand stress and how it affects the mind and body, learn skills and tools to manage stress through healthy coping skills, and discuss resources for further mental health support if it is needed. So just Leslie had shared a little bit about me. I was a George Snow Scholar in 2008 and then a graduate recipient in 2013. I also sit on the committee for reviewing scholarship applications. So if you are a George Snow Scholar, there's a chance that I read all about you before you were awarded your scholarship. So I'm glad to have you all here. And I was talking with Leslie and Debbie from George Snow Scholarship Fund, and we were just kind of talking about the way that life has been since March of 2020, and they were sharing with me the things that they've been hearing from students, and I was sharing things that I had been hearing in my role at St. Mary's Medical Center and in my own private practice, Buena Vida, and they were a lot of the same things. Stress, fear, uncertainty, change, concern with coronavirus 19. And so I kind of said to them that, you know, that the George Snow family is so important to me that if there's something that I can do, I wanted to do it. So luckily they're giving me the platform to do it. And I hope that you really can get something out of this, especially as you go back to school and navigate what that looks like in our new kind of normalcy. And then I also shared this on my personal social media and my business social media. So there's a lot of names that I saw in here. Thank you guys for always supporting me and for participating as well. So before I get started, I just kind of wanted to share one of my favorite quotes. And it's just so applicable to the current situation that we're in. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And this was a quote by Viktor Frankl. And if you studied anything about World War II and the Holocaust, you would know that he spent a good portion of his childhood in a concentration camp. And so this holds a lot of, this quote holds a lot of weight, and it's just kind of something to remember that no matter what is going on around us, with the right tools and the right support systems, we really can, we can do and we can be whoever we want to be, and we can feel however we want to feel. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And then we are in a constant state of change. So just keep in mind that stability is an illusion. Life is in perpetual motion. We are constantly changing. Consider before COVID how you adapted to changes in life. And with that, just keep that in mind as we talk about the changes that are going on with COVID. So before actually digging into the mental health side of it, we have to, this is what brings us here together, right? We're talking about COVID-19, coronavirus, that emerged in China in December 2019. Symptoms include cough, fever, chills, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, muscle or body aches, sore throat, new loss of taste or smell, diarrhea, headache, new fatigue, nausea or vomiting, and congestion or runny nose. COVID symptoms run the gamut of severe to moderate to mild, and in some cases are even asymptomatic or without symptoms but test positive. And then also what we're hearing on the news a lot is that some cases have caused death. So this is something, and this is the first time in all of our lives that we are all facing the same situation. And let that just kind of sink in for a moment. Think about how much our lives have changed since since March of 2020. And what is life now like when you wear a mask outside, when you wear a mask to go to the grocery store? What happens when you hear someone cough in this new life that we're navigating, this new normal? Think about how that affects us now, whereas we might have heard a cough before and we might take 2 steps to the left to stay away from someone because we don't want to get sick, but that takes on a whole new level, a whole new meaning, because now we have this fear of COVID-19. We have this heightened awareness of something that's out there that's invisible that we can't see, but it has changed our lives so dramatically. And then thinking about, for the students, thinking about having to go back to school and having to trust others that you go to class with and be in the classroom when you might not know where other students have been, or in your dorm room, or for people who are going back to work or just trying to navigate normal life when you go to the grocery store. You don't know where other people have been. We have to have this kind of blinded sense of trust in the people around us because we don't know, and we're relying on our masks to do that. And this is the first time, like I mentioned before, in our lives where every single person on this planet is experiencing the exact same thing. Just kind of let that sink in for a moment, because you might be having a bad day or going through a bad time in life, or receive a diagnosis of something that is scary or changes your life, but not everyone knows what that's like. This is the first time in our lives that every single person is going through the same thing. Take a moment to reflect on how you are affected by coronavirus. For some people, being affected means it's a minor inconvenience. It is something that just it made you cancel your vacation, or maybe it affected you a little bit more severely and your hours got cut off at work, or maybe it affects you even more severely where you lost your job or you were furloughed, or maybe it affects you even more severely or even more closely because you or a loved one tested positive for coronavirus and potentially ended up in the hospital, maybe even in the ICU. We're all affected at different levels by this. And if you think about when you drop a pebble in a pond, the ripple effect, the ripples that are closest to where the pebble dropped are the most affected. But the ripples go on as it goes further and further out. And this is what I was talking about. Consider how you are affected, because people who this is a minor inconvenience for, or just kind of messes up some things in their life, it doesn't mean that what you're feeling is not valid. It doesn't mean that the struggles that you're going through as a result of the state shutdowns or quarantine is not important. It doesn't mean because you were not affected personally and were not intubated in an ICU that coronavirus has not impacted your life dramatically. So before we talk about stress and all the fun things that come along with stress and mental health, I wanted to just give a very clear definition of what health actually is. So as a therapist, I really like this definition from the World Health Organization. It states that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. So our bodies can be healthy. We could have perfect lab results. We can have a great physical. We can be the picture of perfect health physically. But if mental health is not in line, if your social well-being is not in line with that, then how can you be achieving true health? And so I appreciate everybody who has been brave enough or vulnerable enough to participate in this presentation and the discussion at the end of it, because there used to be a stigma, and there still is to a certain extent, about mental health and talking about it. It's just something we don't talk about. That's the old way of thinking. And by being here and saying, I could really benefit from this, or I could learn something here, it's being open to talking about your mental health, because it's just as important as our physical health. Oops. Before we can talk about how stress affects us, we have to understand what stress actually is. Stress is a physiological or psychological response to internal or external stressors. Then there's acute stress. So acute stress are symptoms of stress that develop to a particular situation, and they're typically severe in the moment and then resolve once the situation is resolved. Chronic stress is emotional and psychological and physiological symptoms that occur over a long, prolonged period of time. We could all potentially be experiencing chronic stress related to COVID. That's a period of time since March 2020. Healthy stress. As students, you probably feel a lot of healthy stress. You have a deadline, maybe you procrastinated on a paper or to study for an exam. Healthy stress is the stuff that is the feeling of nerves in our stomach. It's the motivation to accomplish something, a deadline at work or in your home. And then we have unhealthy stress. So unhealthy stress, the definition looks a lot like chronic stress. And that's because they kind of go hand in hand. So chronic stress can be unhealthy because there's no specific situation that is causing the stress. It's just a baseline level of stress that's higher because of something that's challenging in life, or even if it's not challenging in life, but it's leftover stress from something that was challenging in life. So healthy stress kind of goes along with acute stress. So right before an exam or right before I'm about to give the presentation I'm giving today, I felt a lot of anxiety and stress and nerves before it. But once I got started talking, that kind of went away. So that's an acute stressor, is because I'm starting something that I might not have necessarily been prepared, or might feel something because it's new for me that I'm doing this. Chronic stress and unhealthy stress, like I said, kind of go together as well. Toxic stress, we're going to talk about this too, because toxic stress plays a role in how we handle all the different types of stressors. So something that might be an acute stress or a healthy stress could be exacerbated by toxic stress. So toxic stress is a response that can occur when a child experiences long, frequent, and or prolonged adversity without adequate adult support. So that tends to develop in childhood, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well in future slides. So now that you know all about the different kinds of stress, look at all the ways that stress affects the body. Stress affects our body, our mind, our emotions, and our behavior. So if you're under a really big stressful situation, you might have frequent headaches or feel fatigued, or your muscles might feel like they're constricted. We hold a lot of stress in our shoulders, in our chest, in our stomachs. Or if you have constricted breathing, so sometimes feeling shortness of breath, which coincidentally is a symptom of COVID-19, that can be just from the stress. But we feel that. Emotions, lack of confidence, depression, irritability, insomnia, our mind, worrying, indecisiveness, negativity, foggy thinking. Foggy thinking, if we're under stress and you're a college student, is very challenging, or if you have a deadline at work that you need to be meeting, because it makes us ineffective in what we're trying to do. And then behaviorally as well, so substance use, substance abuse, loss of appetite, loneliness, maybe some isolation, maybe we're more accident prone, or maybe stress can cause risky behaviors. So think about yourself for a moment, and how do you describe how you feel? Stress can also be a mindset. So if you're constantly saying to yourself or to your friends or to your family, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed, the mind rewires itself to constantly believe you're stressed. So if you can describe how you're feeling in other words, add more feeling words to your vocabulary, then it takes back control of the situation, because it's, okay, I'm feeling angry right now. I'm not really feeling stressed, I'm just really angry that this is gonna be, that I was so excited to go back to college for my sophomore year and it's all different because of COVID. Or I'm really frustrated that I can't leave my house and my kids can't go to school, and I'm overwhelmed because I have to learn virtual school and try to help them. Or I'm really excited because I am finally going to be able to see people that I haven't seen in months because of COVID. There's stress that goes along with that, but if we use the right feeling words to describe how we feel, then that constant feeling of helplessness of I'm so stressed, I can't get out of my stress, kind of goes away, because we've made it a mindset as a society, and gives back control of our situations. So other feeling words, they can definitely get more advanced than the ones that I've listed here, but perplexed, overwhelmed, confused, There's all sorts of words out there. If you just Google them, there's plenty of them. I encourage you to really try to describe how you feel with feeling words, rather than, it's very simple for us to just say I'm stressed, because that's not always what it is. Oh, I put nervous on there too, because if you're studying for an exam or you have a presentation, you might be nervous, you might be excited, you might be happy, you might be prepared, you might not be stressed about it. So once you identify what you're feeling and what we're actually feeling, then it's also important to know that the factors that contribute to how we handle stress. So this is what I was talking about before with that chronic stress, that toxic stress, that prolonged unhealthy stress. There are stressors in our lives, not just coronavirus. Life did not stop just because we're in quarantine, or you had to go home and live with your family, or you were furloughed from work. Life stressors continued to happen. We've lost loved ones. Financial instability is a huge one right now, with people being laid off from work. Mental illness did not just put a pause and say, don't worry, we're not gonna creep on your shoulder because you have enough to deal with coronavirus. Transition periods, if you lived in New York City and had to move home because of the lockdowns in New York City, transitioning back home, that's a huge transition period. Starting college for the first time, or even going back to college in a pandemic. Any kind of chronic illness or acute illness. I know we all use Dr. Google a lot. I do it all the time, even though I work at a hospital. And we think we have something that we don't. There's so many people who I've heard that I see for counseling that say, oh, I coughed, or I had some shortness of breath, so I must have had coronavirus. But I Googled it. But you know, we have so much more ability to be aware of things, but it also adds to the level of anxiety or stress that we feel. So all of these life stressors did not stop just because coronavirus came around. And then also consider your childhood. So without getting too therapist-y, our childhood plays a huge role in how we deal with experiences in our adulthood and in our life. So adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, have really come to the forefront of the mental health world in the last couple of years. And it's based on a scale that the number of adverse childhood experiences that you experience in your life, in your childhood, it directly impacts how, as an adult, you handle stress or you handle life. Abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, neglect, physical and emotional, and just simple household dysfunction, which we're all human and we all have. Divorce, mental illness, substance abuse, moving across the country in your childhood and losing all of your friends, maybe being in a military family. These all contribute to how we handle stress. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I used to handle stress really well and now I don't. Well, consider the things that have happened in your life that may have led to that. Because life doesn't just start when one stressor happens. We built up a bunch of knowledge and a bunch of evidence to support how we need to handle a situation based on all of our past experiences. And our mind works in funny ways. So I have this fascination with icebergs. And in November last year, I went with my family to Argentina, and we went to Patagonia and we saw the icebergs. And we were, one of the tour guides was telling us that with an iceberg, you can only see 16% of it, and everything underneath of it is the rest of it. You can't even see that. So if you look at massive icebergs and we only can see 16% of it, how mind-boggling is that? And it does compare to our mind, because what we think in our consciousness. So our consciousness is something like, what am I doing right now? What am I eating for lunch? What am I wearing? How am I doing my hair? What I'm feeling in this moment. Who am I with? What am I looking forward to? That's our conscious. It's what's happening in the here and now. But that's only 16% of our mind. The rest of it is the subconscious or the unconscious. And what happens there is the rest of it. I'm not good enough. I suck at this. I get overwhelmed too quickly. You're not going to pass that test because you didn't study enough. Or I'm I'm not doing a good enough job taking care of my kids and teaching them school. My job doesn't value me enough, and therefore that's why I got furloughed. So all this stuff is kind of going on in the background, and until you bring awareness to the fact that it's actually there, because even though we only see 16%, or we see the conscious stuff that's happening, you can see I'm wearing a blue dress today. My hair is down. I'm sitting here in my dining room talking to you about this. That's the conscious, but what's going on behind the scenes? That stuff is all happening at the same time. So you have both of those working at the same time, kind of running parallel to each other. And without awareness, and we just get emotionally exhausted by the end of the day. So before you can do anything about stress, we have to have awareness of it. And awareness is the key, because if you're not aware and you don't know, then you just kind of live in that conscious state while all the other stuff is going on in the background. The best way I can compare that to is if you have a phone, which we all do, a smartphone, and you have one app open, but you have all your other apps in the background that you have to swipe to close. So conscious is you have Instagram open. The unconscious is you have 7 other apps that are open that you need to swipe to close them. So to take a moment and do a self-evaluation. You've just learned a lot of information about stress, about life stressors, about how different ways of handling things occur. And I want you to think for yourself, how do I react to situations? Are my reactions applicable to the level of stress the situation causes? Or are they not? Do I overreact? Do I underreact? If someone cuts you off, one of my favorite examples of this is someone cuts you off on I-95 and you slam on your horn and you yell curse words at them. Is that the appropriate reaction to the situation? It might be, it might not be. And so that's where those feeling words come in, because if we use the right feeling word to talk about how we feel, if we're aware of what our thoughts and our behaviors and our emotions are all doing in a cycle, then those misplaced emotional reactions can be placed with the right situations. So to any situation, we have a automatic thought, we have a behavioral reaction, we have an emotional reaction, and we have a physiological reaction. So if you're watching this and you're feeling something, consider what your thought was. What are you thinking? Are you thinking that, wow, this is really overwhelming? Or, wow, maybe I don't handle stress in a great way? Or maybe you're thinking, yes, this all makes sense. But consider what your reaction to this particular situation is, or situations that are even simple ones. So having a conversation with your spouse or your kids or your roommates. What is your emotional reaction? Are you a crier? You might be a crier. There are some people who just kind of shed a tear, and there's some people who in any given situation, when they feel just the slightest amount of stress, they have an emotional reaction and they cry. Some people get angry. What is your behavioral reaction? Do you pace in a situation? Do you isolate? Do you avoid? Do you go in your room? Do you hide? Do you just stay quiet and put your headphones in so that you can't hear anything? Do you go exercise? What's your behavioral reaction to a stressful situation? And then consider what your physiological reaction is. So that's our body. Do you get stomach pain? Do you get a stress headache? Do you get shortness of breath, chest tightness, back pain? Do you have TMJ in your jaw? Does your jaw clench? And do you get pain in your jaw? Some people even develop like a muscle twitch. So sometimes it's in their eye or their wrist. That can happen too. And anytime we react to a situation, what's happening on the inside in the subconscious or the unconscious, so remember that iceberg, the lower half of the iceberg, in any given situation, you have what's happening in the conscious, okay, I'm having an argument with my roommate. I'm having an argument with my spouse or my child. But in the unconscious is going through the files and files in your memory, in your mind, and saying, oh, when you were 12, you had the same reaction to the same situation, and you thought that you weren't good enough. So therefore, you can't be right in this situation because you're not good enough. So this is where the childhood takes a role in it and plays in the effect, because the subconscious is digging up that information as the situation is happening in real time in our consciousness. So an example of that would be something like, someone cuts you off. I like to use I-95 as an example, because if you live in the state of Florida and you drive on 95, you know that you are taking your life in your hand most days. So if you get cut off on any given day and you just kind of say, oh, okay, whew, that was fine. And then one time you don't, you get in a car accident because of it. Then every time after that, you have a heightened reaction, a heightened awareness, a heightened emotional reaction, behavioral reaction, physiological reaction to any time a car might cut you off because of your life experiences. And all of those get filed into the subconscious or the unconscious. That's where they stay. That's where they live. It's kind of like a computer when we put files, we put groups of files into different folders. So consider that anytime a situation is occurring, we have an automatic thought, which that's where the awareness is. We have to bring that up. What am I actually thinking? And then what is my reaction? Am I having an emotional reaction, a behavioral reaction, or a physiological reaction? So before I go to this slide, I just want to also mention here that along the same lines of I-95, we handle reactions and situations and stress differently based on how we're feeling every day. So one day it might be good and one day it might not be good. So back to my examples of I-95. Some days you go and you drive on I-95 or any highway, and it's smooth sailing and everybody's going, the speed limit-ish, and you just kind of are slowly moving along. And some days we handle all the different situations that come at us, and we handle it with grace, and we're like on top of it, we're like, I got this, it's good. We just handle things, and it's as if nothing is wrong. And then other days on I-95 or any other major interstate, you get on there and people are cutting you off and people are stopping and there's accidents, and it's almost as if people are not even looking at what's in front of them. And the mind works like that too. So the neurons that fire, and that's where our emotions and our reactions come from, are going in all these different directions because there's chaos all around us. So you might not handle situations on that day very well, and that's okay, because that's just part of life. Sometimes we handle things better on some days than we do on others, and giving yourself the opportunity to say, okay, today's not a great day for me, but tomorrow can be better. And that's where the awareness comes in, is the understanding. You're not a bad person. Your mental health is not suffering. You're not good at stress. Like those types of things, those things that we tell ourselves are not necessarily true. We might just be having a bad day. Face COVID. So this is a acronym that came out of acceptance and commitment theory, or acceptance and commitment therapy. And basically the goals of acceptance and commitment theory are: 1, acceptance of unwanted private experiences which are out of our personal control. Let that sink in for a second. And 2, committed actions toward living a valued life. And these two together increase our psychological flexibility. So this is a good takeaway. This is a tool. Face COVID. F, focus on what's in your control, because there's a lot of things that are not in our control. Acknowledge your thoughts and feelings. So that's what we were just talking about. Hey, I'm not having a great day, so I might not handle things as well as I would like to, but I give myself that break because I'm only a human. Come back into your body. So we're going to talk about how to do grounding and exercise mindfulness. Come back into your body and engage in what you're doing. So right now at 11:37 a.m. on Saturday, August 29th, you're sitting here listening to a webinar on mental health in a pandemic. Engage in what you're doing. If you're multitasking, this is not the time to be. Because this is a time for you to focus on exactly what you're doing. This is how we accept what's not in our control and focus on what's in our control. Face COVID. So the second half, C, committed action, set an action. I'm about to give you a whole toolbox worth of mental health coping skills. Commit to one of them. Commit to something that's a form of self-care. Open up. Talk with your peers, talk with your family. We're going to talk about when it's important to also talk with a therapist, but open up about what's going on for you. Life is hard right now. And maybe for you, life has always been hard. Or maybe you go through times when it's hard and times when it seems like it's a little bit better, but open up. That's not something that you have to keep to yourself. Values. Identify what your values are. What do you value right now? Do you value family time? Do you value your self-care? Do you value the fact that you are healthy, that you don't have COVID, that that's in your control? Identify your resources. We're going to go over that as well. And then lastly, because this is a virus, disinfect, 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 and physically distance. Face COVID. So this is the portion where I'm going to go over the mental health toolbox. So everything that we talked about, that's fine and dandy. That's awareness, that's education, that's helping you to see, to understand what's going on in your own head, what your personal glacier iceberg looks like. But this is how to tackle them. And the reason that I give a toolbox and I give a lot of examples of different coping skills, and I'm going to go through each one of them, is because not every single one of these works for every single situation. So if you think about it, if you have a toolbox in your garage, or if your parents do, and they go out and they get the Phillips head screwdriver, well, the Phillips head screwdriver is not going to work on a screw that needs a flathead screwdriver. Sometimes you need a hammer. Sometimes you need a wrench. They don't all work. They're not all universal. They don't all work for every situation. And that's the same thing with these coping skills. So one of these, you might hear about one of these and you're like, yeah, that's not for me. And that's okay, because these are not for everyone. But one of them might be, or multiple of them might be. And that's why I give you the toolbox. So that way you can, for your personal experiences, for your life, how you handle things, you have different coping skills that you can look back on. So I'm going to do an exercise here, breathing. Now you might say or think to yourself, okay, Megan, I breathe every day, got that check, but this is very intentional breathing. So we're going to practice. I want you to put your feet flat on the ground. I want you to sit up straight. And I want you to unclench your hands. If your hands are clenched, unclench your hands and rest them on your legs. If you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes, but I want you to breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do that again. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now slowly open your eyes, breathe normal, and consider if that helped you to calm down a little bit. Maybe it released some of your muscles. Maybe it didn't do anything for you. Diaphragmatic breathing or intentional breathing is something that works when our muscles are tense, when our thoughts are going a million miles per hour. And if you're in an anxious state or a stressed state, do it as many times as you need to until it works. If you're calm right now, those 2 times might have been enough. You might have felt some shift in your shoulders. If your shoulders were up to your ears, like my old dance teacher used to say, it might help to bring your shoulders down. If you were clenching your hands and your knuckles were turning white because you were clenching them so hard, you were holding tension, and that simple act just released it and allowed your hands to just be free and feel some relaxation. Intentional breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, which is where it opens the diaphragm and allows it to close, and opens and allows it to close, helps slow down our thoughts, helps relieve our muscle tension, and just allows us time to be able to think clearly. 10-minute guided meditations for breathing. So if you have a difficult time with looking for yourself or doing it for yourself, there's plenty on YouTube. There's plenty of apps. You can follow a 10-minute guided meditation that will walk you through that. Progressive muscle relaxation is another type of breathing, and what that does is it goes from the top of your head to the tip of your toes, and it works on releasing all of the muscles. So you can also find those, you can find scripts for those if you wanted someone to read it to you, or you can also find those on YouTube. You just type in progressive muscle relaxation and it'll go and tell you to clench your jaw for 3 seconds and unclench. And it'll go through your entire body and have you do that. Belly breathing. If counting is too much for you and you don't want to use a guided type of breathing exercise, you can lay flat on your back and put a teddy bear or pillow on your belly and see how far you can push the pillow or the teddy bear up and how far you can let it fall down. And then you keep on doing that until you feel a sense of calmness. These are different types of way that breathing or intentional breathing can help slow down thoughts, anxiety, and stress. Meditation. So if you look at this picture, most of us live in the side where our mind is very full, we're multitasking, we're doing 7,000 different things. The intention is to be able to shift into just being mindful. I'm present, I'm here. I'm looking at my PowerPoint presentation. I'm seeing all the wonderful people who have tuned in to listen to this. I'm mindful of this moment in time. I've also included some resources that I'm happy to share the presentation, so that way you can click on it to find meditation. There's the guided meditations. You can always do those. There's also very specific types of meditations that you can learn the skills and be able to do it on your own time. Okay. Exercise. Exercise has tons of benefit on mental health, from reducing stress levels, increasing energy levels, reducing depression, mood, anxiety, everything that you do for exercise can help your mental health. But consider where you are in your own personal journey. Exercise for me doesn't look the same as it looks for someone else. I might want to go run for 3 miles in the morning, but someone else might simply go out and take their dog for a 20-minute walk. Move your body. Do something that moves your body and rejuvenates your muscles. But it doesn't have to be an intense exercise or workout. It's simply just moving your body. But this, you know, if you're a runner, and I can speak to running because when I do running, I am not very happy when I'm doing it. But after it, I have mental clarity. I'm proud of myself. The boost in my mental health that running gives me makes me want to do it. I'm not happy, like I said, when I'm doing it, but after. So consider what works for you as far as exercise and listening to your body. Because if you haven't gotten out of your at-home office or your dorm room in 4 days because everything is online now, you need to go walk outside. You need to go up and down the staircases a couple times. Maybe just sit on the floor and do some push-ups or some sit-ups. Move your body in some way, because exercise benefits not just our mental health, but our physical health. So remember the triangle in the very beginning. We can't achieve health without physical, mental, and social well-being. Journaling. Some people are really good at journaling, others are not. So I wanted to share on here some journaling prompts Focused journaling allows us to get the thoughts out of our head and put them on paper and use that as a sense of an outlet. So if you are confused about what your life goals are, maybe write some of them down. Or one of my favorites is, my definition of success for myself is. This is a way to boost mental health because your success looks different than my success. And my success looks different from someone else's success. But what does it mean for you? We on social media, we compare ourselves to the highlight reels of other people constantly. If you find yourself scrolling and just comparing, your definition of success or accomplishment or value might look differently because you're seeing what other people's are. So what successes have you had in your life? My past doesn't define who I am because. And this doesn't mean that journaling has to take an hour of your day where you recount all the different things that happened in a day. No, this is simply focused journaling. I'm just going to write a few sentences about this. Today I learned blank and will implement tomorrow. The skills that I need to accomplish my goals are. I deserve to be happy because. These are things that we might not say out loud ever. So give them some space. Allow them to be able to breathe. Put them down on paper. Because they're all important. You are important. Your goals, your dreams, your success, your worthiness is all important. And if you don't have a person to share that with, or you don't share that with anyone, write it down. Because it deserves the space to breathe. You deserve to have an acknowledgement of these things. And this doesn't have to happen every day. Journaling, that's kind of the old school way of thinking about journaling, is that we have to do it every day. If that works for you and getting all of your feelings out on paper works for you, absolutely keep doing it. But if it doesn't, this is a tool. These prompts are tools to be able to change your mindset of a given day if you've had a bad day. Okay, you have a bad day, or you didn't do something, you're not proud of the way you handled something. Well, my past doesn't define who I am because. I can be a better person each day by doing blank. One area that I need to improve upon is blank. Along the same lines of writing things down on paper, I am a huge fan of lists. Anyone who knows me or has been to my house knows I have about 4 different lists. Some are virtual on my phone, some are on paper, some are in my planner. I like lists. But what I want to talk about lists is that there are different types of lists. So there's your to-do list. And if you're a task-focused person who finds gratitude or validation in crossing things off your list, then you're a to-do list person. And sometimes we all need to-do lists, and sometimes you need multiple to-do lists because we have all these different things floating around in our head, and just to simply put them on paper gives it a space to be held, so that way you don't have to remember it in your conscious brain. Okay, I wrote down that I needed to get eggs at the grocery store, but I don't have to remember it in my head because I have it on my piece of paper. This is my aid, this is my support. To-do lists are really great. But then there's also goal lists. So goal lists, we don't necessarily get to cross things off of very frequently. But goals for 2020, intentions for the month of September. My goal for 2020 was to start my private practice. And now my goal has changed because I did that. Make goal lists because they're not those task-focused items that go on to-do lists. The gratification or the validation of crossing off your to-do list item is not the same for your goals because goals take a little while. We have short-term goals, we have long-term goals. And then there's the forget-me-not lists. If you're a person who has difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep because ideas and remembering to do things swarms around in your head while you lay in the dark for hours and hours each night, consider keeping a notepad and a pen next to your bed and write those things down so that way you don't have to hold them in your mind and your mind can finally rest to go to sleep. It'll be there in the morning, I promise you. That item is not going to just go away. But if you write it down, then you don't have to, there's no pressure, there's no reason that you have to just focus on it and stay up all night thinking about it. And then you can get a good night's sleep. Essential oils. Essential oils can be used for a lot of different things, and they've grown in popularity over time, but they can be in sprays, they can be in diffusers, and they can be roll-on. So this first picture here is of an essential oil called Panic Button. And I use this essential oil in my office every day. And it calms me down like nothing else. It's a mixture of a couple of different fragrances, and it can be ordered online. I had a friend give it to me when I was really stressed at work at one point, and she was in grad school. So if you're in grad school or college, then you know what it's like to feel like you need to hit the panic button. If you have a deadline at work, or your kids are not listening to you and you just need to hit the panic button, you need everything to stop. Just the name brings me happiness, as you can probably tell in the change in my voice, because for me, it's something that helps. So I wanted to share that one with you. But do a little bit of research on the different types of essential oils and see what you're feeling. So remember, before you can pick one of these, you have to be able to identify how you feel. And then you can find an essential oil to help combat that. Maybe you need one for focus. I think peppermint is one for focus if you need to study or you have a deadline that you need to accomplish. You can just kind of spray them around, or you can diffuse them, or they come in roll-ons and you can put them on your wrists. Clean eating. Without a show of hands, because I can't see everybody, but who stress eats? I do. My stress food is pizza, and I could eat pizza 5 days a week, especially when I'm stressed, and not get tired of it. But as we all know, stress food and food that is fried or not as healthy for us, or filled with bread and cheese and all those things that we should have in moderation, they slow us down. They cause foggy thinking. They make our body slow down. If you're someone who has tummy issues, they make it so that way your tummy can be bloated or hurt. Clean eating is a really, really great self-care tool. It doesn't mean you have to do it all the time, but consider what you're putting in your body and fueling your body, because if your body doesn't feel good, remember the triangle: mental health, physical health, and social well-being all have to go together. So if you're not taking care of your body, then your mind can't be clear, and therefore your mental health suffers as well. At-home self-care. Epsom salt baths. Epsom salt baths, or even just regular bubble baths or essential oil baths, really help to calm muscles and stress and tension. They work phenomenal. At-home self-care, 20 minutes. 15-minute showers alone. If you're a mom, or if you are home with your siblings and you're responsible for taking care of them, get your alone time. 15-minute showers alone. No kids, no dogs, no husbands, no partners, no roommates coming in and out of the bathroom because they need to blow dry their hair, they have to ask you a question. 15 minutes alone. That's self-care. Consider your transition times. So coming from work and home and work, or school, from activity to activity, if you're involved in a lot of activities at school, and you just kind of bounce from one to another, consider that you need transition times. You need 5 minutes for that breathing. Just 5 minutes. You need to just do a meditation between, or just take a couple minutes to just be in your own thoughts rather than going from one thing to the next. Allow for transition times. And they kind of can go hand in hand, because if you need a transition time from coming home from school or from work, then you can go take your 15-minute shower alone, and then you're going to come out as good as new. Self-care can be a skincare routine. Remember, physical health and mental health go together. So if you're into skincare, taking the time to do that skincare routine, investing in the products that you want to use, doing the research, take care of yourself. Get your nails done. if that's what it is for you. Get your hair done. Take care of the things that are important to you, because that is self-care. That's not the only form of self-care, but that's a form of self-care. Develop a nighttime routine and a morning routine. At night, okay, so at night, research says that you should be 30 minutes to 60 minutes without any sort of screen time to get a restful night's sleep. The reality of that happening in most of our busy lives is not possible. So develop a nighttime routine where you can aid yourself to be able to have a good night's sleep. When do you turn the TV off? When do you stop going on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook? When do you dim the lights? Do you use an essential oil like lavender to help you go to sleep? Develop a nighttime routine and stick to it every night. And this should help in sleep, in promoting sleep. Develop a morning routine. So morning routines can look like a lot of different things. They can be a dedicated morning routine to personal and self-growth. I highly recommend, if that's something that you're looking to do, the book, The Miracle Morning, where they go over the list of activities to do in order to promote self-growth and mental health support. Or it could just be that you need 10 minutes, wake up 10 minutes early to have your morning cup of coffee to get yourself ready for the day. Or exercise in the morning. Or you need to wake up to study, so you're going to wake up 10 minutes earlier than you plan to wake up, and you're going to take a shower so that way your thoughts are clear, so that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. Set an intentional morning routine. If you are hitting your snooze or and constantly hitting it, and then you jump up 5 minutes before you have to go somewhere, then consider that you didn't put your best foot forward that morning, and therefore the rest of your day might be scattered also. And you might not deal with stress or tension or anxiety as well. Grounding exercises and positive self-talk. One of the most powerful coping skills that you can do anywhere, at work, at home, in an office setting, in a hospital, in a classroom, in your dorm, wherever you are, is change your scenery. If you have become unproductive, if you're subconscious, if you are talking down to yourself saying, you're not productive, you're not doing good enough, what's wrong with me, any of that, change your scenery. Step outside for 5 minutes. If you are working from home, doing school from home, living your life from home and not leaving your house, you need to have 15 minutes of fresh air and sunshine. You need 15 minutes of this 4 times a day. Get outside, set an alarm, remind yourself, change your scenery. Look at the wind blowing in the air outside. Look at the wind blowing in the trees. Look at the different shades of green. We live in South Florida. Look at the different shades of green that are all around us. In my neighborhood, there are peacocks, so I have plenty to look at. It looks like Jurassic Park around here. Look at what's around you. Take in the scenery. Go to the beach. Go to your park. Go somewhere. Do something. Get some sunshine on your face. Get some fresh air. 15 minutes 4 times a day if you are working from home and doing school from home and not leaving your house. Affirmations. A lot of people have a lot of different feelings about affirmations, but these can be something as simple as, I'm okay. Sometimes it's okay to just be okay, but I am okay. I'm safe. I'm okay. Affirmations that don't work are, I am the best, or I'm going to get an A on that project because that's just what I do. Affirmations that are not realistic for yourself don't work. And that's why people have a lot of mixed opinions of them. One of my favorite ones to use is, I have everything that I need to make today a good day. I have everything that I need to make today a great day. I have control of that. Or, I am doing the very best I can. If you're the person that feels like you're failing up and down, left and right, from here to California and to Antarctica, you are doing the very best that you can. We don't know how to function in a pandemic. We're learning. We might have gotten a little bit better at it, but you are doing the very best that you can. Put it on a sticky note. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Find the affirmation that works for you. Maybe it is, I have the power to create change for myself. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's simply, I am okay. Realistic affirmations is what rewires our mind so that way we can view ourselves in a positive light. And daily gratitude. There's a lot going on in the world right now, from political issues to social justice issues to health issues to financial issues. We are getting hit from every possible side of things. And that's not going to change for a while. So what can you find gratitude in? What are you thankful for? There's an app for that. It's called Gratitude, and that heart with the leaves on it, that's the symbol that you can find in the App Store. And what it allows you to do is to write down one thing you're grateful for every day and one affirmation. So 2 birds, 1 stone, 1 app. But express gratitude daily because we have a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful for my family. I am thankful for the George Snow Scholarship Fund. I'm thankful for Leslie. I'm thankful for Shannon. I'm thankful for everyone that's listening on here. I have a lot to be thankful for. And if I can focus on what's in my control and focus on those things that I'm thankful for and put my energy and time into those things, then the things that I don't have control over are just kind of there, and I'm going to deal with them. And lastly, talk therapy. So if you are someone who has listened to this and you are someone that feels like you're stuck or feels like the world is just against you, or there are bigger things going on that this is not going to help you with, you need to consider talk therapy, because that is a mental health tool. Talk to a therapist. That's what we're here for. Talk to someone, get perspective, learn about what's going on specifically inside your head. Therapy does not have to be something that's lifelong. Therapy does not mean necessarily that something's wrong with you. Therapy is a tool. Therapy is a resource, and it's something to help you get through a hard time. So how do you find a therapist? Psychologytoday.com is a really great place to find a therapist. You can sort by your zip code. You can sort and look by your insurance. You can look at a picture of the person. You can read about them, go on their website, and reach out that way. It just kind of gives you an idea of who's in your area. You can also go to my website, buenavitafl.com. I'm a licensed therapist in the state of Florida. So if you're not in Florida, or you're a family member or friend, then I cannot be your therapist. And lastly, if neither of those work for you, then call your insurance company, because they have a list of therapists that are covered by your plans. Most insurance plans do cover mental health support. And lastly, before we go to questions, I just wanted to say thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for putting yourself out there and trying to learn some more about it. Follow my Instagram page, follow my Facebook page. I put a lot of information out there, similar to what I have talked about, but I put more out there. And sometimes when you're scrolling and you're just looking at things where people are living their best lives, and you just need a reminder that you are doing the best you can and you've got this, and just follow my page. I'll definitely put that out there as a reminder to you guys. So thank you. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can talk.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Shannon, are there any questions in the chat?
No, nothing yet, but if you guys have any questions for Megan, you're welcome to unmute yourself or write in the chat, and we can just discuss anything that you're thinking, anything you want to go further into with what Megan brought up.
I wanted to say Thank you so much. There was a lot of symptom that you talk about that I noticed recently, but I didn't know it was nothing to worry about. Like, for example, I keep having headaches from time to time. That's one of them. And when I'm stressful about classes, I just go and play video game all day. I think that could help, but no. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's part of it, is just to have that awareness and say that, and see if there's a connection, so that the times that you are having the headaches, what's going on around you, what might be causing them, and then use other coping skills also. So video games are not necessarily bad, but they're a good distraction. But it might be change your scenery, get outside, do something else to help that to go away.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about starting going to the gym, so that was one of my ideas.
Absolutely, it's a great one.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay, so we have a message in here. It's just from Mabel saying, thank you so much. I really liked how you included other aspects of facing COVID besides just disinfecting and cleaning. And I have to say, I really do agree with exercise. I mean, you gave so many great tips, but for me, I have seen it make an impact on my health or my mental health during COVID. You know, being home and working from home in the beginning, I really needed that time in the morning to just do 20 or 30 minutes of exercising, and I could feel a difference in my day. So for anyone who hasn't tried that, I would definitely recommend it.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome. Anyone else would like to share?
I wanted to say something. Sorry, I'm driving, so I don't have my video on. But Megan knows my family for quite some time from St. Mary's. She knows that we have 2 kids with CF, and during this pandemic, it has been really, really difficult for us having a 7-year-old and a 19-year-old. And everything that she said, I think I incorporated in everything that I do. And to give myself a break every day, I do a 30 minutes walk either with my husband or by myself. I can't even go in the bathroom by myself because somebody's always knocking on the door for something. So that's like getting away for 30 minutes. That's my break. And my boys, they just started back baseball, and I will use this opportunity to get away from everything, just to take that hour and a half for myself. But I just wanted to say thank you, Megan. It was great listening to you, and hopefully I can do a one-on-one session with you. I thought I never would need therapy, but I think after all this, I might. So thank you again.
Absolutely, Shaniza, and you're killing it. You got a on there, so give yourself credit for that too.
Oh, I do. I mean, I'm sure anybody that have any kind of kids at home with some kind of disability, they have to do the same too. They have to give themselves credit for everything that they've been doing, especially keeping the whole family healthy during this pandemic. It's not easy. And like you said, one of the stressful thing with my 7-year-old, it's online classes. It's not, I mean, I would say I survived the week with him, but it's going good. I think him playing baseball, it's a stress relief for him too, because that's something that he likes. And you know, it's good for everybody that everybody's trying to get back to some kind of normalcy. But it's been really, really nice listening to you this morning. And like I said, I might need a one-on-one session soon. So
Yeah,
I didn't think about it, but thank you again, though.
Are you ready for your next speaker? Okay, hi Megan. Hi. So my question is, I really appreciated how you said that everybody is going through the same thing with COVID. However, as you know, I'm a henna artist, and business was shut down for a while, but clients are starting to come back in. And so every day that we see a client, sometimes they're like very social distancing and respectful, but there are a lot of clients who are like wearing their mask down here, or like talking about how it's all fake or some conspiracy or the other. And some of us have relatives who do that too. And while I understand that calling it a hoax or a non-issue is probably an extreme stress coping mechanism for them, how do we deal with that and not absorb their energy and not want to go off on them, because there's no convincing anyone?
Yeah, I think that that's a really great point to bring up, and I'm going to also relate it back to the college students, because you don't have control of the people who are around you. So you have to go back to work, you have to go back to class, and I know there's some classes and some work where you are working one-on-one with someone or in close proximity. So that's where those transition periods and that self-care for yourself, because you are not going to change their mind. You don't know. You don't know where they've been. You don't know what they've been doing, if they're wearing their masks below their nose, and that's how they go out everywhere, then that's not something you have control over. So you take back control where you can, and that's with the disinfecting. If you go to a place for class or for work, and take back control when you go home. My routine when I come home is I don't hug anyone, not even my dog. I go straight to the shower. My clothes go straight in the laundry. And then once I've showered and put on usually pajamas, then I'm ready to be a part of my family, because that's how I take back control over my setting. So find those moments where you have control, and then your transition period. So if you have a client and they're not wearing their mask down, remember that what you have control over is your own mental health. So take that transition time. Give yourself 15 minutes to do some breathing. Maybe disinfecting is what makes you feel like you're taking back control, but find those times where you can, because there is so much that's out of our control, and it's very easy to get frustrated and upset in the fact that not everyone takes things as seriously as you might, or it is, remember the ripple in the pond, so everybody's affected by it differently. So and just by looking at you, looking at me, looking at whoever, we don't, you can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know the experiences that person has been through. So take back control where you can. So it's those transition times are really helpful for situations like that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Alice. Thank you so much, Megan. This was really, really great, and a good way to start the weekend too. So I just wanted to share my experience. Through my insurance, which I go to FAU, and I have the FAU school insurance, which is United. I got free service through an online telehealth mental counseling, which was really great, which I started last August, so about a year ago. And so I had started that before COVID, but it actually was very practical during COVID, because I just continued on with my therapist. And so I definitely highly recommend everybody to seek, if you can, to speaking with somebody is great. Even if you try a couple sessions and really see where you might need help in certain areas, it's not a weakness, it's something to help build you up. And so one thing that we've been working on is CBT, which I know you mentioned on today. And from my experience, I come from a nursing background, so I do know a lot about these concepts, and it seems like you talking about it today, it seems like an easy concept, but I can say from personal experience, I feel like it's taking me at least a year to really settle in. Like, it takes a long time to really fully understand it and to start to practice it. And it really wasn't until a few months ago that it really started, I felt like it was working. So I think that if anybody does want to go that route and try it, just be patient with yourself and know that it takes a lot longer than you might think, but that's not a bad thing. And it is really effective once it does kind of start to affect your life that way.
Absolutely, Alice. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I was nodding like very heavily, because I identify so much with that. Working with clients and personally having first of all, if you're a therapist or you know a therapist, every therapist should have a therapist, and there are therapists who specialize in seeing therapists because it's so difficult. So I can definitely identify with that personally and professionally, because the things that I talk about are in this webinar on a very broad level. But getting down into the nitty gritty of what each of us are actually thinking in our subconscious in every given situation, it takes time and repetition. And for some people, it can happen over the course of a couple of weeks. And for some people, given whatever their life experiences are and their traumas are, or the life stressors that I talked about, it can take longer. It can absolutely take longer. And so, therapy can be something that's very short term, but it usually opens up a can of worms. And so ultimately, it's a great thing. It's a really great thing because it does help people to achieve that fullness of health, physical health, mental health, social well-being. But so I really appreciate your perspective on that because it does take time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to share or ask Megan a question, either in the chat or by unmuting themselves?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. Your information is so helpful. I just started journaling last night and it definitely helped with my anxiety because I feel like because I'm a first generation college student, I'm trying so hard to embrace every single opportunity that's being presented to me. And UF is great. So many opportunities and so many emails in my inbox. I'm getting so stressed out because I realized I only have a limited amount of time and energy to do so many activities. Now I realized instead of, catching up with every single opportunity, I need to concentrate and focus on one, being, mindful in the situation instead of like multitasking and, just stressing myself out. So yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I think that, anyone who is a George Snow Scholar is so grateful to have that community and that support that, we do want to make the very most of every opportunity that's been provided to you. But it's setting those realistic expectations of yourself. And that's where those different types of lists come in. Because you can have your goal list. So one of your goals may be are you at UF, you said? Okay, so it might be to join a club like Streetlight that goes into the hospital and helps kids. Or it might be that you want to be involved in student government or a sorority or a fraternity or whatever it may be, or maybe it's an environmental club or something specific to the profession that you want. But there has to be equal amount of time for all the things that are important to you. So writing those down on lists or even in your journaling, if you do a focused journaling entry of what's important to me this semester. Because there's plenty of time to be able to do all the other experiences, but what's important to me this semester. And then you stick to those because when we accomplish our goals, we feel good. When we feel good, then our mental health is good. So it's setting realistic expectations for yourself as well as being able to do all your coursework too, and then take care of your body and then do, if you have a job, do X, Y, and Z. So, there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves and just know that as a scholar, you are very much supported by all of us.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Shannon.
Anyone else want to share? Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for holding this webinar because I've been going through a lot of stress lately and I saw a lot of things new that I can be doing to manage my stress, especially with journaling because I love to journal, but sometimes I get overwhelmed and I make it seem like it's like a English project, like it has to be like, like really formal, things of that sort. But then just saying that, it can just be a couple minutes a day kind of relieves like stress, the anxiety of it just realizing that it's like not everything is intense.
Absolutely.
Just want to say thank you for that.
Have you ever tried, are you an English major?
No, I'm a psychology major.
Okay. So something that you can try is just stream of consciousness journaling, and it's where you set a timer and you just write for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. No punctuation, no anything. just what's in your mind goes down on paper. And that can be very cathartic because it's focused, so you don't have to worry about grammar and don't have to worry about sentence structure. So that's another potential way to do journaling too. So that way it's not in your mind that you have to have a perfect grammar.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And everybody, remember, this has been recorded. So if anybody would like the recording, then just reach out to Shannon or myself. And if you are not a George Snow student, then you can reach out to Megan, because we'll make sure she has the recording as well.
Thank you.
I'll try to get this ready, or get the video ready to be sent out Monday of next week. So I'll try to send it out through email, but if you don't see it, you can always reach out to us for it as well.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much, Megan, for giving up this time on a Saturday. I think that everybody that was listening definitely got a lot out of it, whether they've been experiencing or they haven't, or they know people. I mean, it's, you know, we all have things that we go through. So it's always great to hear, you know, information that are tools for us to use in our life. So thank you from the bottom of our heart for doing this for us. And
Yes,
thank you guys for joining in.
Much appreciated.
Absolutely. You guys have a great rest of Saturday.
Everybody have a great weekend and stay safe.
Thank you, Megan.
Bye.